How are you guys doing today? I'm JJ Jackson. I'm the head distiller here at Lucky Sign Spirits.
Christian Kale. I just do stuff.
He's my Mrs. Havisham. Well, we're here today. We're going to talk about some of the flavored spirits that we make, whether that's a botanical spirit or something that's infused with flavor. We do a lot. We are a flavor company here. We're not just a distillery. We consider ourselves flavor makers.
We are. So, you can tell we're really professionals.
Yeah. I just play one on TV.
So, as a home person, the easiest way for you to make flavors is through a process called infusion or maceration. And that's how we make our Winking Devil bourbon, cinnamon bourbon liqueur. Sorry, whatever. But one of the things we do, we really pay attention to flavor, understanding how to create flavor, how to build flavors, and how flavors play off each other. So you hear us saying a lot about flavor pairing and flavor pairing networks. So, Winking Devil. This started out because there's a very famous cinnamon spirit out there, and I absolutely hate it, but I love cinnamon, so I wanted to do my own that actually tastes great. So we started off with our base bourbon, the Card bourbon, and what we do is we add Vietnamese cinnamon, cloves, peppercorns, and Szechuan peppercorns, sorry. It's always that word. And the reason why we do that is the cinnamon, the black pepper, and the cloves all have chemicals in them that are very similar. And what that does is when you mix things that have similar chemicals in them or similar flavors, it increases the likelihood of when you put them together, they marry better together or they taste better together. Simpler way of saying it. And the Szechuan peppercorns is just a little bit of fun. It actually will make your mouth tingle or your tongue tingle or go just a little bit numb if you drink more than just like a little bit of it. It's kind of one of the secrets to Chinese food. They use that a lot in their food and making flavors for them. So when you try this, it has a great cinnamon flavor. The black pepper and the cloves just enhance that flavor and just add different layers to it. Gives it a great character overall. So what are you working on, Moonshiner Joe?
Well, currently right now, we have an excellent offering with our 3 gins. We have our London Dry, we have our Barrel Rested London Dry, we have our Gertie's Run Gin. But when it comes to gin, I think there's so many different expressions, and your run-of-the-mill, down-the-middle flavor of like what people are used to, like a London Dry. It's very juniper forward. But if you look at the broader spectrum of how people are playing with botanical spirits and how we're playing with botanical spirits, I wanted to kind of play with other flavors while there's still a little bit of juniper present, but some of the other flavors are more interesting to me in the gin regard. So I went down the rabbit hole of kind of what botanicals seemed interesting, smelled interesting. It was actually a skincare company that I opened up one of their creams, and it was a honeysuckle infused shea butter cream, and I was like, that smells really good. And I didn't take a big glop of it and put it in my mouth because I didn't know what it was going to taste like, but I then convinced him. I said, hey, let's try honeysuckle. So
yeah, hey, let's go find a really expensive ingredient and try it out. Okay, Moonshiner Joe.
But that's the best part about it is that with all of these ingredients in gin, whether or not, so I started to make this recipe that I'm going to be testing out here soon. I started with a base gin recipe and added a few more things to it. But also, what I'm going to be playing with is not only maceration and distillation, but vapor path infusion. So in the vapor path, I'm going to be putting some dehydrated citrus fruits along with some of the honeysuckle. So in that exploration, there's a huge difference between macerating, removing, and distilling, or even macerating, leaving in, and distilling, and putting things in the vapor path. You extract different flavors, different compounds. So in my exploration of botanicals and infusing, that's where I'm headed, down this gin path.
Yeah. So to start, botanical spirits are anything that you add flavor to before you distill it or during distillation, not post-distillation. So gin is probably the biggest class of that. Other things, including what we have, is we have an akavit, which is basically like a Scandinavian version of gin. Absinthe is also another big one that you'll see. It's a botanical spirit. Traditionally, it will also be macerated post-distillation, just for the coloring. But you look at this, and he said a couple different ways of making flavor with botanical spirit. One is just through maceration. So what happens is before we distill it, we'll let the botanicals sit in the GNS, or vodka, as most people more commonly call it, for a couple days. It will pull the flavor out, and then we put it in the still, distill it, and the flavor comes over. The other way to do it, if you have a botanical that is a little more delicate and is more temperature sensitive, you'll macerate and remove. So that's another way of doing it. So you'll macerate it, but before you put it in the still, you take the botanicals out. So you're only getting the flavor of that. That will come over. That helps with things that are like green and leafy. So if you leave something that's green and leafy in, it can actually turn it into like a stew, which most people do not want in their gin, surprisingly. And then you have the vapor path. So as you're distilling it, the alcohol vapor comes up through the column, and there'll be a little bit of a basket called a gin basket that you put your botanicals in. Now, the difference between maceration and vapor path infusion is that with maceration, you're going to get more of a full flavor of something, whereas with vapor path, it's more of like a scalpel. You're hitting just very specific notes. So it kind of goes into where the artist picks how he wants to do it, or she wants to do it. So.
Yeah, I mean, but just along the lines with what we're doing with the Honest Hillbilly line coming out and everything else that's on the horizon for us, I feel like, since we are that flavor company, this is right down our alley. I mean, we're straight shooting everybody here in terms of how, we want to take spirits into the future with what we're doing and what we're creating. So,
yeah. And that's kind of what we want to do, is just be honest about what we're putting in there and getting the flavors of what we're putting in there out, instead of just waiting for post-distillation and adding extracts in.
Exactly. And the other side of that would be, when people do that post-distillation flavoring, whether that's sugar or certain sweetness, I personally, as a distiller, want to explore how to extract sweetness through distillation versus post-distillation sweetening. So, I mean, whether it's a gin or this, there's tons of ways to skin that cat.
Yeah.
I think we're headed in that direction. So
Yeah, we always try to minimize how much sugar we put in anything. So
don't want a headache. Well, thank you guys so much.
thank you very much.
We really enjoy talking to you guys about this stuff. So if you come by our tasting room or our bar during our open hours, I'm always here, Christian's always here, and we're definitely open to talk botanicals and spirits in general. So we'll dive down the rabbit hole with you. But as always, I'm JJ Jackson, the head distiller here at Lucky Sign.
And I'm Christian Kale, someone here at Lucky Sign.
And shine on, people.
Shine on!